In this lesson, we're going to take a look at Trojans. Now, before we dive into this piece of malware, let's look at history for a moment and learn what a Trojan actually is. Now, a couple of thousand years ago, Greece and the city of Troy were at war. This lasted for about 10 years with no end in sight. After a long siege, the Greeks started getting restless, and they decided they were going to try something different. So they went out and constructed a large wooden horse that they decided to give to the city of Troy as a peace offering. Now, unfortunately for the citizens of Troy, this seemingly harmless gift was actually filled with Greek soldiers, and once it was wheeled safely into the city, the day turned to night and the soldiers came out from within that Trojan horse. This handful of soldiers then went over to the walled city's gates, unlocked them and opened them, and let the rest of the invading Greek army into the city, which rapidly laid waste to the entire city of Troy. Now, this is where the term Trojan horse, or as we call it in cybersecurity, a Trojan, gets its name. Now, in cybersecurity, Trojans work quite similarly to the gift horse delivered by the Greeks to the city of Troy. Now, a Trojan is simply a piece of malicious software that is disguised as a piece of harmless or desirable software. Basically, a Trojan claims that it's going to perform some kind of needed or desired function for you, and that Trojan will indeed perform that function. But it also performs a malicious one, like installing a backdoor or virus, onto your system as well. Now, when I was a kid back in the 1980s, there was this great new game that came out called Tetris, and everybody loved it. Now, Tetris was and still is an extremely popular game, and everybody wanted to get a copy of it back in those days. But back then, we really didn't have the internet to download games, and so instead, you may have received a floppy disk from your friend at school who had a copy of the game. Now, this became a common practice, and back in those days, people really weren't thinking about computer viruses the way we do today. Well, an attacker got this great idea of embedding some malicious code into the Tetris game and then passing out disks with that infected version to lots of different people. If you received one of those disks, you might put it in your computer in order to run the game. And when you did that, the game would actually play just like you thought it would. But what was actually happening behind the scenes was it opened a connection between your system and their system so that the attacker could gain remote access and control over your system. Now, what I just described is one of the earliest examples of what we now refer to as a RAT, a remote access Trojan. Now, a RAT is a type of Trojan that's widely used by modern attackers because it provides the attacker with remote control of a victimized machine. Now, let's go back to that Tetris example, because young Jason found this to be a great way to mess around with his online friends. So, I could go out and give a copy of this infected version of Tetris over to my friends, and when they started playing it, a remote connection would be created from their machine back to my machine. Now, once that connection was established, I could do all sorts of things that I thought were hilarious on my friend's system, like logging in as them on their computer, opening and closing their CD drive, playing music or alerts on their computer, flipping their screen upside down so that everything appeared backwards or upside down, and all sorts of other weird things like that, all while maintaining remote access and remote control of my friends' computers by using this Trojan. Now, in my case, this was being done for fun against my friends' computers or later on in life as part of my network penetration test that I was involved with over the years. So remember, when you're dealing with a Trojan, you're dealing with a piece of malicious software that's disguised as a piece of harmless or desirable software. Trojans are commonly used by attackers to exploit a vulnerability in your workstation and then conduct data exfiltration to steal your sensitive documents and create backdoors to create persistence in your system and other malicious activities like that. So anytime you download a program from the internet, you always need to be careful to check them for Trojans by using a good antivirus or anti-malware solution prior to opening or installing any programs you download, as well as making sure your systems are patched against known vulnerabilities in order to prevent your system from falling victim to the attacks created by Trojans.